Ozzie Albies finally being over his wrist injury is one of the best things that could happen to the 2026 Atlanta Braves. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Thursday, August 28th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. We're part of the Believe Podcast Network and proudly presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. I want to get to some of the really impressive prospect performances we saw last night in the minor league system, specifically talking about pitching here. Because the Braves played a day game, I was able to kind of sit back and watch a couple different games last night, catching Cam Caminiti, catching Ritchie, a little bit of Luke Sinnard and Drue Hackenberg, have some thoughts there on how that went. But before we do that, I was able to watch those games because Atlanta played during the day. They took down the Miami Marlins 12-1, a second straight blowout, albeit this one came a lot earlier than the first one did, as they scored a bunch of runs early since third inning and so, after Ronald Acuna Jr. got hit by Ryan Gusto. Just on that, he clearly didn't mean to do it, right? It wasn't intentional by Ryan Gusto. But the point remains, it's now the 9th time a Marlins pitcher has hit Ronald Acuna Jr. And there was a great little tweet on this from Ryan Foster on social media. It's the 9th time Ronald's been hit in 94 games against the Marlins. The rest of the NL East combined in 249 career games have hit him 9 times. So the rest of the NL East, 9 times, 249 games. The Marlins, 9 times in 94 games. At the same time, this is like the 3rd time he's been hit since 2021. The big issue was Jose Urena. He's not been there for a couple seasons, right? But that really spurred this game to get wild. Benches cleared. Jurickson Profar, shout out to Jurickson Profar. He was the first dude to cross the first base line in defense of Ronald Acuna Jr. Nobody actually started shoving or anything. There was no physical contact. But the benches cleared, the dugout, the bullpen's cleared. And again, the first guy out there across the line, Jurickson Profar. You'll love to see it. The man's an Atlanta player. He's a true Atlanta man already. But after Ronald got hit and was jawing at Ryan Gusto, Drake Baldwin walked. Ozzie Albies got a middle fastball and just launched it. 107. He bat flipped the heck out of it because that's his friend that got hit. It's his 3rd homer in the last 2 games. Pushed Atlanta to a 6-0 lead, and they just kind of cruised from there. And the thing about Ozzie now is he was awful in the first half, right? 95 games. He hit 220 with a 316 slug. It's a 606 OPS, one of the worst marks in baseball. Michael Harris was worse, actually. Ozzie had 7 homers. Just terrible performances. Since then, though, Ozzie's been much better, and especially recently. So post All-Star break, he's hitting 265. He's got 6 home runs. It's a 435 slug and a 762 OPS. Yes, 762 is not amazing, but it's good, right? Matt Olson's at a 771. His power's not really been here in the second half. Marcell Ozuna's at a 791. So, Ozzie's right hovering around where Ozuna's been, although Ozuna's been disappointing too. The big thing for me is seeing the home runs, right? He hit 3 in the last 2 games of this series. He picked up 9 RBI in those 2 games. Somebody sent me a message on Instagram saying I'm supposed to say 9 RBIs. But runs batted in, RBIs, it doesn't matter. We all know what I'm talking about. 15 total bases in the final 2 games. 1 strikeout. Kind of the big deal there. And it's fair to think about, is Ozzie, obviously, it feels like he had to be feeling the effects of the wrist injury still. We know that, yes, guys can return to the box, to the field, whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are fully back and healed from the injury. Sean Murphy was never the same after the oblique injury last year, even when he came back. He was not the same guy. And obviously, Albies was not the same guy early this year and just not able to hit for power. But now, he has 4 homers in the month of August. He had 1 against New York on August 14th, and then these 3 right here. And if he continues being able to hit for more power than he had, I mean, he didn't have a single homer in the entire month of June. He had 2 in the month of May, right? Then you have to feel a little bit better about his option for next year when Atlanta picks it up. Because they were going to pick it up. They were always going to pick it up. They'd save $3 million by not having him. Like, that's it. They were going to pick it up. But the difference is you can pick it up and you can see a path where he's still your starter and it's not a net negative on offense. And Ozzie didn't directly, but kind of addressed some of what's going on. Brian Sitker did too. And what Snit said about this, Oz has had his struggles throughout most of the summer, but you'd never know it. He just keeps a great attitude about it and confidence in himself. Hopefully he can keep it up and finish on a really good note. And Ozzie himself, he was asked if he thinks the wrist maybe hampered him into the season, and he didn't really give a clear answer. He's like, things are turning around. I keep playing hard no matter what. It's just when things are going great, it obviously feels a lot better. And when he says it feels a lot better, he's talking about his production, right? He's not talking about the wrist. But if the wrist is healthy, and there's reason to believe that it is, this is a good sign. When you look at his hard hit rates, his average exit velocity, and all of that, from the beginning of the season to now, broken down by month, you can really see how he's been able to get into more power. So for March and April combined, they always combine these, Baseball Reference, StatCast, all of that, because March is so short on games. They just tack it into April. In March and April, he averaged 85.6 miles an hour exit velocity and a hard hit rate of 25%. So 1 in every 4 balls, he hit over 95 miles an hour. Okay. In the month of August, he's averaging 87.6 miles an hour. So 2 full mile an hour harder at a time in the calendar when a lot of guys are fatigued and those numbers have kind of taken a step back. He's averaging 2 mile an hour harder on his average exit velocity than he did in March and April. And his hard hit rate's gone from 25% to 33%. So from 1 in 4 to 1 in 3. And he had his first right-handed homer in game 2 of the series on Tuesday. So I still want Atlanta to address the middle infield. I personally don't think Bo Bichette is going to be worth the contract he's going to demand. I don't think Atlanta's going to outbid everybody for him. And it's something where that would just be incredibly out of character for Alex Anthopoulos to go that many years and that high of a dollar value on a qualifying offer player. He's never done almost any of those things. He's popped like 1 qualifying offer since he's been here. That was the Will Smith deal for the closer. But he's never gone over $22 million. He's never gone more than like 3 years for a position player as a free agent signing since he's been with Atlanta. Maybe it's possible they look at Bichette, but it doesn't seem to follow the way that they've always done things. And maybe this year's a sign they have to do something different. They started Vidal Brujan in game 3. He didn't get any hits. He went like 0 for 5 or whatever. But they started Vidal Brujan over Nick Allen in game 3. Maybe they're evaluating Brujan. Maybe they just wanted to give Allen a day off. We don't really know. But I still want Atlanta to address the middle infield, right? But I don't necessarily think you have to break the bank for a starter at second base like you would be if you traded for Brandon Lau. I never remember which one he is. If you traded for Brandon Lau, if you signed, big name free agent like a Bichette or somebody. I think that Ozzie has shown, provided he's healthy and he continues to get farther away from that wrist injury and do better, that you can absolutely count on him at least not being a negative. I still think you need a plan, right? You still need to have somebody in the wings, a utility man, whatever. Maybe you give Eli White some run at second base. You gave him run at first base. He filled in for Matt Olson late in the blowout. Made a really good defensive play. Maybe you let him play some second base. Maybe you go sign a true utility man like a Dylan Moore or a Willie Castro or somebody. But if this continues from Ozzie, I don't feel nearly as bad as I did a month ago about the offensive fate of Atlanta's middle infield in Ozzie and Allen for 2026. Still needs to be upgraded, but it's not as dire as it looked like it was. In just a minute, let's talk about some of the minor league prospects that had really good performances yesterday. I had a chance to sit and snuggle on the deck with Bandit and watch a couple pitching performances that were really impressive. We'll break that down next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Encase Cards, custom card manufacturer. Love these guys and what they do. You upload your source photos. The obvious go-to is your kids, right, from U Sports, but it can be anything. We did these as party favors for my son's birthday party last week, and we had a glow stick pool party. It was at like 7 or 8 p.m. on Saturday. All the kids had pizza and ice cream, and we had like 750 glow sticks for the pool, the community pool. Family reunions, your fantasy football league, the winner and the loser, all that kind of stuff. You upload your source photos. You pick holographic options. Their designers help you with the background. They put all of the pertinent stats for my son. It was his positions. He played shortstop, second base, and pitcher for the T-ball version of the White Sox. Front and back, they do all that stuff. They print it on high-quality cardstock. They slab it, and they throw it inside one of a couple different colors of a frame. You choose the color. Has a built-in stand so that you can put it on your dresser, your desk, wherever it may be. So go to ncasecards.com, ncasecards.com. Promo code BRAVES today gets you $5 off and supports the podcast. That's ncasecards.com, ncasecards.com. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about some of these prospects because I really enjoyed getting to watch these games last night. I started off watching Single A Augusta, right? They had a doubleheader last night, so 2 7-inning doubleheaders, and the first game was being started by Cam Caminiti, lefty, drafted in last year's first round. And I was really impressed with what he was able to do. He goes 6 innings, 1 run on 4 hits. He walks 2. He strikes out 9. Now, they lost because Augusta was held to exactly 1 hit. It was a leadoff single in the 6th. The pinch runner was immediately doubled off. Like, the 4th pitch of the next at-bat was a double play ground ball. But I really liked what I saw from Caminiti. It was a lot of fastball slider, right? He's throwing from a lower lefty slot. It's not the same as Chris Sale, but it's very reminiscent of like what Chris Sale's trying to do, right? He's coming in from a lower lefty slot with a slider. He's got a fastball. He'd throw the fastball up for some stuff, but the slider was the weapon here, right? He was throwing it backdoor to some righties. He was to a lefty. He was running it down and away, making him chase. And he even got some called strikes on it on the front hip, right? He would throw it at their bodies. And some of them would flinch, some of them would buckle a little bit. And it would end up, boom, just coming right in, catching the edge of the zone for a strike. Just really impressive performance. And it felt like he really did a good job of kind of buckling down when guys got on base. The only time that they scored, it was a 1-0 loss. The only time that the River Dogs scored was he issued a 1-out walk. And if I remember right, it was a pretty close pitch. And then they got a 2-out double, and the guy scored from first. But outside of that, Every time they got somebody into scoring position, he buckled down and shut it down. The River Dogs finished 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position and left 4 on base. He did give up like 1 stolen base. If I remember right, that wasn't on him. I think it was more on Colin Burgess, the catcher, than it was on him. But either way, like outside of that, just a really good job of controlling the running game, buckling down when dudes got on, and not letting stuff happen here. And so he finished this game. This was his first time he had ever finished 6 innings as a professional. This is a career high with 9 strikeouts. So he's got a 3.38 ERA in 64 innings. But that counts 4 rehab starts at the complex level. The start of his season was delayed like 2 months with forearm tightness. So if you look at just Cam Caminiti's 12 starts in Augusta, he's 1-3 with a 2.32 ERA and 68 strikeouts in 50 1/3 innings. Now, their season ends on September 7th, right? Every level of the minors ends earlier than the one above it, right? So their season ends September 7th. He's likely making just 1 more start in AAA, maybe 2. I haven't actually looked at exactly how that all lines up. So he's making at most 2 more starts in AAA. So his 64 innings is probably going to be 70 to 75. I am curious to see, do they bump him up to Rome for 1 final start? We see that a lot. Hurston Waldrop's a guy that they wanted him on his draft year to get 1 more start. So he finished the season in AAA Gwinnett with 1 start. And then the next year went back to AA to open the year. I'm also kind of curious with Caminiti, do they start him in single A next year or do they start him in high A? But either way, I think my goal for him is going to be, I want to see if he can make a start in AA by the end of 2026. I want to see if Cam Caminiti can give you a full season of workload. Again, he's at 64 right now. He'll probably finish 75, maybe a little over 80 if they bump him up to high A for that final start. But my question here is, can he end up in AA by the end of next season? Could just be a cup of coffee, could be some quick moving, just depends on how aggressively Atlanta wants to be here. But thought he looked really good. And I just want to see, like, the slider's really coming along. Again, it was a weapon yesterday. I want to see how aggressively they treat him the rest of this year and then what they do with him next year. After that game, as that game was wrapping up, I was able to click over to AAA Gwinnett, right? Watch J.R. Ritchie take on Norfolk. That's an Orioles affiliate. And Ritchie was fantastic. 6 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks. He did hit a batter. He struck out 11. And when you look at some of the stuff plus here, right? There's a fantastic account at TJ Stats. Thomas Nestico, we follow each other. He's helped me with some research I've done before, getting me raw StatCast data and things like that. Great guy. Has a Substack too, so go check that out. He put out his pitching card with the Stuff Plus gradings for J.R. Ritchie. And this is very clearly a kitchen sink profile. He threw 6 pitches in the game. He threw all 3 fastballs, a sinker, a four-seamer, and a cutter. He threw both a slider and a curveball, and a couple changeups too. And only 3 of these pitches are even at a 100 Stuff Plus. And again, 100 is league average, okay? The slider was a 100, the changeup was a 100, the curveball was a 105. The fastballs all come in just under average, 96 for the sinker, 93 for the four-seamer, 93 for the cutter. And so he's doing the thing that Hurston Waldrop did, where if you don't have an exceptional four-seam fastball, right? And he got, the four-seamer had about 14 inches of induced vertical break on it. And again, 16 is MLB average, 18 is elite. He's at 14. He's well below average on induced vertical break on the four-seam fastball. So he's doing like Hurston Waldrop does, and he's throwing all three. It's really hard to sit on what is close to being, it's not, but what is close to being a little bit of a dead zone fastball if he's throwing also a sinker and a cutter. And he got 14 whiffs, 4 on the curveball, 1 on the slider, 4 on the two-seamer. He got 6 whiffs on the sinker, which is not a thing you see a ton of. It's like 13 and a half inches of horizontal movement on it. So kind of impressive. Again, graded out as a 96 on Stuff Plus, but I'd say it's probably close enough to call it an average pitch, right? And he kind of lived off of locations and sequencing, okay? Again, he walked 2, he hit 1, but 1 hit, 11 strikeouts. The curveball, 50% whiff rate. I think they swung, I think it was 8 times, and he got 4 whiffs on it. So most of the time he threw it, they saw it, and they wanted to hit it, and they just couldn't do it. If the one thing that I'm kind of watching for here is he still needs to build up his, he still needs to kind of build up his endurance, right? So in the first inning, he threw a couple like 95, 95-1, 94-8 on his fastball velocity. But by that final inning, he was sitting 92, 93. And the first guy in the 6th inning, he actually had a couple like 91s in there. So he's still needing to build a little more endurance and stamina to go deeper into games. I think this was the second time this year he's gone 6 innings, if I remember right. But the thing here is he's not going to get, like, I'm nothing's for sure, but I'm like 95% confident they're not going to call him up this year. Okay. Here's the thing. There's 2 reasons why. One, I've already talked about the 40-man situation, right? You got so many guys you need 40-man spots for by the end of the World Series. All of these injured pitchers and all of that. And J.R. Ritchie's not Rule 5 eligible until 2026, the end of 26. So you don't have to add him to the roster this winter. There's so many other guys you need to, like a Hayden Harris, like a Blake Burkhalter, and all those guys. But then also, he's already at 117 and 2/3 innings. He came back from Tommy John mid-season last year, and he finished with just under 50 innings. He's at 49 and 2/3 last year. And if I remember right, that includes his rehab starts. And now, again, 117.2. He's already more than doubled last year's workload. The last thing they're going to ask him to do is to push even more by calling him to the majors for a debut. The way that they need to handle J.R. Ritchie is let him finish the season in AAA. Let him have don't send him to fall ball. Give him plenty of rest. Invite him as a non-roster invitee to spring training next year. And I do think he's going to debut sometime in 2026. I don't know if he'll stick in the rotation or if it'll be a 2027 chance to stick in the rotation, maybe even out of spring. But I do think he debuts next year. I just don't think it should. I don't think it will be or should be this year. Those are the only 2 games I was able to actually sit and watch in nearly their entirety. I did catch a little bit of Drue Hackenberg in Columbus and Luke Sinnard in Rome. Hackenberg really struggled with his control. 82 pitches to go 4 innings, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. He hit a batter. He took 2 pitch clock violations. Now, he's also missed some time, like 2 months mid-season. I don't quite know what it was, but he missed like 2 months mid-season. But despite that, 2-7 record, doesn't care. It doesn't matter in the minors. I think every Braves prospect has a losing record in the minors. 6.75 ERA, 61 in the 3rd innings, 54 strikeouts, 41 walks. Okay? His whip is 179. He really needs a healthy offseason and then probably to go back to AA so that he can kind of get his control a little back in line. In 2024, he walked 62 in 129 innings, struck out 144 and had a whip of like 1 1/4. So his whip went from 125 to 179. It's clear the injury is affecting him. He's not the guy we know he can be. He needs a healthy offseason. Luke Sinnard, I thought looked really good. 6 innings against Winston-Salem. That's the Dash, White Sox affiliate. 1 earned run in 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, got 6 ground ball outs. He also missed a month and a half because of an injury, but 2.67 ERA in high A, 79 strikeouts, 25 walks, and 67 and a third innings. So he's probably a guy that they may bump up to double A for the final start of the year. We'll see what happens. But either way, lots of promising prospects in Atlanta's organization. Pitching prospects had a really good day on Wednesday. This has been Braves Today for Thursday, August 28th. Do me a favor, if you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode, which will be tomorrow. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.